What's going on, everybody? It's Nick with Facemask Fantasy, and a blockbuster trade has gone down in the NFL. The Packers are trading superstar wide receiver Davante Adams to the Las Vegas Raiders for 2 picks in the 2022 draft, one being the Raiders' first-round pick. Adams ends up with the team widely speculated to be his landing spot were he to move on from Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers loses his top wide receiver, who has been a top 3 receiver in the league for fantasy 3 out of the past 4 years. That 4th year, Adams missed time due to injury. The Raiders had a serious need at the position, which they now fill with one of the premier players in the league, and the Packers are now the ones with that same glaring need after they clearly couldn't come to an agreement with Adams on a new contract. He now gets that in Vegas, reportedly to the tune of a 5-year extension worth over $141 million. For Adams, it's definitely a drop-off in QB play going from Rodgers to Derek Carr, but it's not as significant as you might think on the surface. Carr was actually one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL in 2021, working with very little on offense after the release of Henry Ruggs and all of the time that Darren Waller missed. Carr was 3rd in the NFL in completions of at least 10 yards, 2nd in completions of at least 20 yards, and 3rd in completions of at least 30 yards. And who, among many others, was he better than in all 3 of those categories? You guessed it, Aaron Rodgers. So while we likely bump Adams down in the ranks a bit, I'm not moving him that far down. Would I probably prefer to have Jamar Chase or Tyreek Hill in redraft at this point? Sure, but I'm still hammering Adams at the turn in 12-man leagues every chance I get. He's the clear top option in the Raiders offense where targets were available in abundance. A top 5 finish at the position is still well within his abilities. And don't forget, it's been a while, but Adams and Carr played together in college. So some chemistry has to be rekindled, but they're not starting off from square one. For Dynasty, you might as well go and try and make an offer for Adams. If the Adams owner is taking this move at face value and feeling worse about him playing with Carr instead of Rodgers, go see what it'll take to acquire a guy who still has top 5 upside. The asking price surely has to come down, and if you can acquire a difference maker at a discount because of the landing spot, pull the trigger. As for the other Raiders pass catchers, we already had to expect some regression from Hunter Renfrow with Darren Waller returning healthy. Now with Adams added, Renfrow isn't a good bet to see 128 targets once again. Adams opens everything up for this offense for sure, and Renfrow is going to be a nightmare working in the slot with defenses unable to key on him. But still, with a redraft ADP of 64, that's too rich for my blood for a player who could be going from the first option in the passing game to the 3rd option any given week. As for Waller himself, he's currently being drafted as the tight end 4 with a redraft ADP of about 33-34. He only played 11 games in 2021 and wasn't as dominant in those games as he had been in 2019 and 2020. He was still a tight end 1 in fantasy points per game, but he'll be 30 when the season starts. I think a bounce back is fair to expect, but a top 3 finish at the position is no guarantee anymore. And that's close to how he's being drafted right now. I didn't hate the ADP before, but like Renfrow, Waller needs to be faded a bit. I think the 2 of them eat into each other's workload enough that with the addition of Adams, I'd prefer to let others take a chance on both of them at cost. Again, Carr's an underrated quarterback who just might be able to support multiple high-end fantasy options. Adams is one of them. Waller and Renfrow's production are likely to come at the expense of each other. So that's going to be a guessing game I'd rather not play with their current prices. For dynasty purposes, Waller's a player I might consider trying to sell, given his advanced age and potential reduction in work. You can sell him on being an elite tight end not too long ago, and again, still finishing as a tight end 1 in fantasy points per game this past year. Renfrow's a more intriguing hold for me, still being just 26 and the youngest of this trio of pass catchers. There could come a time once again where he ascends to the top option in this Raiders passing game, but he feels like the most likely to take a hit in value with this news, so I'd rather wait on him as what should be solid receiver depth for contending teams. And finally, Carr himself was a borderline QB1 in 2021 with very little to work with. His current ADP of 129 is about to go up, especially with people that will aim to build stacks with Adams. Don't be surprised to see his ADP climb 20 or more spots, and I think that's an okay chance to take on a player who now has a loaded collection of pass catchers to work with. Carr could be in for a top 8 finish at the position, so jump in those best balls and grab him now while you can before the market on him adjusts. On the flip side, in Green Bay, this can't possibly be the development Aaron Rodgers wanted after he finally decided to commit to the Packers once again after a bunch of will he, won't he speculation this offseason. Expect Green Bay to address receiver early and often in the draft, but one doesn't just simply replace a player of Davante Adams' caliber. If Rodgers is throwing to Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, and Amari Rodgers, plus a couple of rookies, that's not nearly as impressive as a group led by someone like Adams. Rodgers will be projected as a QB1 because he's Aaron Rodgers, but he's going to need to go deep in his bag of tricks this year, barring a trade for a more talented receiver. His redraft ADP of 80 is sure to come down, and he's just not an attractive option for Dynasty since he'll be turning 39 in December. With Adams out of the picture, that's essentially 150 vacated targets to be redistributed amongst the rest of the pass catchers. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has the highest ADP of any other receiver Rodgers threw to last year, but he's a free agent, so he might not even be back in Green Bay. MVS has an ADP of about 178, Lazard is going off the board at 192, and Amari Rodgers and Cobb are being drafted outside the top 200. Suffice to say, there wasn't a ton of confidence in the Packers' ancillary receivers before this trade, and I don't have any reason to believe that changes much after the trade. This is an overall uninspiring group right now that surely can be elevated by the play of a QB of Rodgers' caliber, but it's likely going to be musical chairs as far as who the Packers' receiver is to fire up if you're dealing with injuries at the position or need a bye week fill-in. Lazard, I guess, is the current top wideout for the team, so again, expect a rookie or two to be added to the mix. This all goes without saying tight end Robert Tonyan is also a free agent, so we'll see if the team brings him back or addresses the tight end position in addition to the receiver position. To that point, it's a good time to check if Josiah DeGuara is on the wire in your Dynasty League. If he is, grab him now. You could do worse as a flyer with plenty of opportunities now available with Adams' departure. You have to think Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon figure to get all the work they can handle this year because right now Rodgers is working with a bunch of wide receiver 4s and 5s for fantasy purposes. That's a quick reaction to the fantasy fallout from the Davante Adams trade. What do you guys think? Put any thoughts you have in the comment section below, and we can have a conversation about this. We also host live streams on our channel each Tuesday and Thursday, all off season long at 6 p.m. Eastern. Come hang out, come get any questions answered you have, any Dynasty topics you want to talk about, or any other general fantasy conversations. Till then, this is Nick with Facemask Fantasy. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for listening.